So I am an author, a speaker, an entrepreneur. I have spent decades working for Fortune 100 companies, making millions for them and their clients. And one of the things that happened to me a couple years ago was I was in a negotiation where we were talking about money, and I realized I have decades of practice and I'm still so uncomfortable. So I thought about you guys. Like, what about the kids coming out of school? You know, I started talking to my friends, women especially, basically want to vomit when they go to talk about money. They don't want to talk to each other about what they make, and they certainly don't want to have to deal with HR. Like, oh no, like they'd literally rather go shut themselves in a box than have to get the best salary. So I started wondering, is there a way that we could leap the fence? Like, why does the word negotiation make most of just us go, ugh? Like, I actually think you guys should honor the fact that you have showed up today. This is awesome. Pat yourselves all on the back, because all the other people, they were like, yeah, I really want to go to that. I really should go to that. No, I don't want to go to that. You know, so that's the emotion that we generally have. So I'm curious. When I say the word negotiation, what do you guys think it means? Now I'm going to call on you, and it's really a wonderful opportunity to learn something, so don't feel badly. So you, the one with the mouthful of food. What do you think what do you think the negotiation means? Like, what is a negotiation if you had to explain it to a 9-year-old?
Trying to get the best deal at like any, I don't know, deal.
Okay. Okay. How about you? White blouse.
When you're trying to resolve a conflict, you're gonna engage in a negotiation.
Okay. Anyone else want to jump in? Guy in the blue shirt?
Trying to get the most advantageous settlement from some sort of deal or dispute.
Okay. Wendy?
Just reaching a point where both people can be somewhat less upset.
Okay. So I think this is a good place to start, right? Typically, it's the art of getting what you want. Like, if you pare it down, negotiation actually has nothing to do with money. And we're going to get to this. I'm going to show you all the ways that you guys can ladder up and practice all the time. Now, this is what most people think it is. What negotiation is, in fact, it's the art of understanding what the other person wants and how they think in order to get what you want. So there's a whole bunch of work that you have to do to get what you want. So, who here likes to negotiate? I want to see a show of hands. Put your hand up if you like to negotiate. Okay, we got 1. We got 2. Maybe 3. Interesting, it's the boys. Interesting. Okay, so why do you like to negotiate? Yeah, okay. Someone who doesn't have food in their hands. Blue boy.
Is saying I kind of enjoy arguing the wrong answer?
No, that's fine. That's actually a great answer. I think it actually underscores why a lot of women don't like to negotiate, because they feel argumentative. Guy in the green shirt?
Well, I think there's always something more to be attained. Something more attainable.
Something more attainable. So you like the goal.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay, that's awesome. Okay, so why don't you like to negotiate?
Because you don't necessarily know if you're gonna get what you want to get out of it, and if that can make you feel uncomfortable.
Yes, I think, yep, I think a lot of people would empathize with that answer. Purple sweater?
I don't like being greedy. Because it's like we're asking for more.
Yes. You feel that you're perceived as being greedy. Okay, interesting. All right. Anyone else have a strong reason why it makes their stomach do loops and not in a good way? Go for it.
Like, if we're going by the thinking about the way the other person thinks, it almost feels like a mind warp in a way that's invading privacy. And they're doing the same thing to you, so it's like.
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
I think also what I think I'm scared of getting no as an answer.
Yes. Fear of no is very, very common. So, does it make you feel uncomfortable? We heard that. You don't like talking about something with a stranger. They're getting into your head. It's too private. It feels like a crossing of a line. or you're scared of hearing no. These are very common answers, right? And at the end of the day, how are we gonna overcome these things? Well, that's why we're here. So, what do you think is the best way to overcome discomfort? Anybody got an answer? Throw it out. Let's hear it. One word. What's the number way? What?
Deep breaths.
That's actually part of it. Yes. Anyone else?
Approaching it.
Yes. I need another word. Starts with a P. Yes. Okay. So how do you start practicing for negotiation, which in our head, you're already thinking is the grand battle, for salary and compensation? Well, we start with our actual lives. We start with delis and stores and credit cards. You guys probably all got offered a credit card at some point. Did you know that the rates on your credit card are variable? And every year you pay off your debts, you can actually lower your credit card rate in terms of your interest rate, right? So I'm going to take you through a couple of really good ideas. So on the bottom of the screen, you'll see a little snapping icon. That means please take a photo when the screen is fully loaded. So for instance, I walked into a deli last week. One of my personal joys is figuring out how can I become a zero trash person. Sorry about the bottle of water. I didn't feel good about it. And I handed my plate to them, and I only had $6. And I made a deal for the $6 because I was taking no trash. So my total was $6.48. They took the $6. How? Because I asked. So why can't you do that? Coffee cart guys, wherever you go on a regular basis, you may have the dollar. But what if you just said, I only have 75 cents? Will that work? Now you're just doing it to see if you can, and you're doing it for practice. Next up, do any of you have a car? It's a long shot in New York. Well, you should tell your parents that, are any of you on your parents' insurance? No? Okay. All right, we'll skip this one. So cell phones, you all have a cell phone. Do any of you pay your own cell phone bills? Okay, we have a couple people. So did you know that you can call them up and tell them that you're switching? And what can they do for you?
I know that before.
Yes.
Read the DSFP.
And how'd it go?
Pretty quick.
You got stuff, right? Okay. Who thinks they could do that? Show of hands. Who thinks they could call their cell phone company and say, I'm switching. I want to see what you can do for me. Fantastic. So see, there's easy practice. Okay, gym memberships. Do any of you have a gym membership? Okay, one of you does. Believe it or not, you can absolutely go in and tell them that you're looking at becoming a member elsewhere. Your budget is tight this month. You're a student. I don't care. Tell them your dog died and you have really big bills. It really doesn't matter. But you can also just go in and say, I'm strapped. I need a better deal. How can you help me? The words, how can you help me? Most powerful words in the English language, in my opinion. So how can you help me? And then credit card companies, insurance, all of this. You call them up and you ask them to lower your rate. Literally that directly. Hi, I'd like my interest rate lowered. What can you do? Oh, well, right now we can drop it a point. I'd like it lowered more. Just keep going. Because then what's the worst you can hear? You don't care if you ever talk to that lady or man again, right? What do you care? But at the same time, you did it. So in your head, you're thinking, hey, that went well. So it's one step further to being excited to practice. Now, believe it or not, you can negotiate your rent. A lot of people don't think you can. They think it's set. They think that's the rent. No. Your landlord pays on average $1,500 to $2,000 to turn over your apartment. If he really thinks you're leaving, do you think he might give you $25 to $50 off a month? I think he would. So if you're really I love my apartment and I'm really curious if I could lower my rent, give it a shot. What's the worst that can happen? He says no, and you stay and you pay more. Seriously, nothing's bad has happened. So, I'm going to tell you a story about, oh, yeah, sure. There we go. This is a good one. So, I'm going to tell you a story about Macy's. Nobody believes you can walk into a department store and negotiate, but you can. So, a friend of mine was looking for a couch, and he fell in love with one at Macy's. So what I did was I found a manager. I told him it was a floor model. What could he do for me? But what happens if you're not in love with the couch or you're not in love with a floor model? You find the manager and you say, I love this. but I can't afford this. My budget was much closer to 50, and say maybe the item's 75. When is it going on sale? What special offers do you have? What could you do for me? You will be shocked what they say. They will say, we could ship it to you. You know, we can send it to a friend out of state and you'll save 12 bucks on tax. You know, they'll come up with ways to actually help you. And you'll think, why have I not been doing this my whole life? And again, what does this do? It underscores your ability to negotiate. So the one thing that I always forget is you got to remember to be able to walk away. If you don't get a good deal and you don't think they're making you enough of a savings kind of offer, you got to just be like, so long. So why do we bother practicing? Yes, it's an opportunity to learn, but you know, if you improve your negotiating skills, you might be able to get over this no thing, because you know what? You're going to hear no all the time. The people in Macy's will probably say no a couple of times, but every time you go back, you'll be like, damn it, I'm going to do it this time. I'm going to find someone who's going to help me. Maybe I'll pick something that's the last one and it's a floor model. You know, maybe the plates you want have been discontinued. They can't sell more of them. Like, you'll find an angle, and all of a sudden you'll be like, it's not so bad to hear no 10 times because today I just saved $120. That's pretty awesome. And when that starts to compound, what happens? You start to talk about it. You're going to go and tell your friends, I negotiated at Macy's. I negotiated at Barney's. You can negotiate anywhere, literally. And when you start talking about it, you're actually changing your friends' mindsets. You're changing the economic profile of the people around you, because now they're going to start thinking, I should negotiate. I can do it because she did it. And that kind of thing is actually where we're all heading, I think. Because the more we talk about it and the less we sublimate it, the better we're all going to be. Hopefully, and I think women especially, because we're very uncomfortable. And I love the fact that it was the 4 guys who were like, yeah, we're fine. Bravo. Which is why, ladies, you need to have male friends in your life, because you need to get advice when job hunting from the guys. You really do. You got to be like, well, they're offering X. The guy is going to blow your mind by what he's going to say, like, well, you should be asking for Y. And you're going to go, no way. That's way too much. And he'll be like, well, I would. And you'll be like, seriously? And the guy is going to say, yeah. And he'll tell you why. And in your head, you'll start thinking, huh, okay. Interesting. So that is the short and very serious way of saying, you know, when you start making more money because you start negotiating, it affects your life and it affects the whole ecosystem, you know, the financial ecosystem of your friends and our world. Are we good? Do you want me to move anywhere?
I like you in here.
There. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Perfect. I will move around. I am showing this video, by the way, to a couple other schools because it's fun. So thank you. So again, what I'm saying is every time you hear a no, it's an opportunity to gain more information. And more information is going to give you what? As Wendy said, mind control. It's going to give you mind control of where you're going. Like, what do they want? What are they hoping to hear? How do I show them what they want? Because at the end of the day, you know what you want. You don't right now, but you will by the end of this talk. So, this doesn't, hang on a sec. It's playing off my computer, not off the screen. So what I'm going to show you here is a masterful negotiation. Has anyone ever seen The Princess Bride besides the 2 ladies in the back of the room? You've never seen it? This weekend with some wine. It's a classic. You've seen it? Wow. Okay. So what you were seeing is, this is the robber baron who is basically saving the princess's life, of course. And this is the masterful, super smart dude who believes he's smarter than everyone and he's about to outsmart this man in a negotiation. So that is literally one of the most famous negotiation skills. So, we're now that's sort of a big step into why people are nervous when negotiating, because they get the sense that the other person knows a lot and is literally prepared for almost every outcome. Is anyone curious why one lived and one died? Do you want me to tell you? Oh, no one's curious. Okay. It's a really cute movie. So one of the things that underscores, though, is what did that guy know? He knew a lot of stuff, right? He had done his research. And as we go through, you'll see how important that is. So next up, I'm going to explain to you what is compensation negotiation. We're going to talk about it because most people think, oh, it's the money you make. But salary is what you get paid. Compensation is salary plus. So it's benefits and perks. And we like the word perks, right? Perks sounds fun. So negotiating the best deal is way more valuable with money because you get to review the benefits, the perks, and the salary. When someone tells you, I'm going to pay you $50,000, that's nice. But if they're not covering your health care, they might actually be paying you something way closer to $35,000, right? So you have to look at the holistic picture. So salary is usually 70% of what you're actually getting. That's it. The perks are a lot. So as a consultant for the last few decades, I always knew that my salary was usually 40% higher than people who were full-time because they're actually thinking, well, she needs to pay her health care, she has to pay other business expenses. So that's one of the reasons that consultants and freelancers make a lot more than full-time, right? So you have to factor that in when you're looking at jobs. So when we look beyond your salary, what's there? What are the benefits? You guys have probably heard of health insurance. Dental insurance is a really nice one that we don't see very often. Obviously, most people are like vacation, sick days, personal days. How many? Is it 5? Is it 10? Is it 15? I mean, most people don't realize that you don't actually have to get any paid days off in the state of New York. It's a luxury. It really is. So if they offer you, 8 days paid and they're like, it's 2 weeks, you got to think to yourself, that's sick days, that's Christmas, that's New Year's, or are the holidays extra? Good question to ask, right? Some of them will offer 401 and pensions, and they will do 401k matches. What's a 401k match? Like, you can dive deep into all the benefits they give you, and you should. You really should. You should take the time, right, to understand that. Because a 401k match, they may match up to a certain number of dollars. So if you put in $5,000, they might put in $5,000. That's free money that most people don't actually take advantage of, which is crazy. Disability coverage, that's an amazing one that you won't see very often. You get hit by a car going to work. Do they pay you? Maybe, maybe not. Education and training reimbursement. You guys are just coming out of college. You're thinking, I got this. I don't need to study anymore. But what happens if you're like, you know what? My presentation skills are a little crappy. I need to go and take a class in PowerPoint, or Keynote, or I'm going to go to the General Assembly and learn user experience because I want to be a better strategist. Whatever direction you're heading in. They'll pay that tuition potentially, which could be like $6,000 for a year. It's a lot of money. So, what about perks? Anybody got an idea what a company perk might be? Cool. Hadn't even thought of that one. I like it.
Transportation.
Yup. Good one. Anyone else? Yes. Coffee. Free meals, snacks, coffee. Like, everybody likes to know that there's like a kitchen in the office that they work in. But you'd be surprised. There are plenty of places where there's nothing. They don't even pay for your coffee. And that's okay, because that's their thing. Signing bonus? Who doesn't like a little extra money on top of their, I started a new job? A lot of companies, if you say, I need 55, they say, we can't do 55. They've really pigeoned you in. They are waiting for you to say, well, what else can you do? If you throw out the words, could you do a signing bonus of $5,000? In their heads, they might actually be able to literally write you a check for $5,000 on the spot because they have that in the budget, but they don't have a line item for an employee who's $55,000. Now you can say, how does that work? And I'm going to say, ask a CFO because I don't get it either. But it's literally how it works. Office furniture, desk placement. Do you want a private office? Like, you guys are just starting out, probably not the greatest idea to ask for a private office, but personally I like to see the sky. So I've actually said, where is the desk? This is an open concept office. Can I face the window? Like, that's a reasonable request. I'd like to face the window. I want to see my days going by. And a lot of times they'll say, sure. Transportation reimbursement. You spend a lot of money in subways. Like, add that up in your head. $5 a day, it adds up fast. Someone that's going to pay you back $25 a week, that's going to go a long way. Stock options, bonuses. What if you go work for a startup? Those things are awesome to have. Profit sharing, smaller companies sometimes do bonuses and they call it profit sharing. Wellness programs, they have massage therapists that they come in. Sometimes they let you put money away from your paycheck tax-free. So that's nice. You can put it aside, it doesn't get taxed. So say you put $500 aside, that would have been something closer to like $625 if you'd had to pay taxes on it. But that 500 is just 500 versus 425. You know what I mean? Like, it's much more efficient. And then my favorite is extra paid vacation. Like, I'd rather have more days out of the office. Like, that's awesome. And everybody wants flexible work these days. Like, the number one thing that I hear is, can I work from home? Working from home is a perk. You know, don't have to spend the money in transportation and you get to like work in your pajamas. And then the last one, paid severance. A lot of companies are switching to unlimited vacation days. It sounds great, right? One of the nice things it does for them is they don't owe you 2 weeks severance because they don't owe you any vacation when they let you go. So it's interesting. So if someone offers you unlimited vacation, ask for paid severance because you might need a couple weeks to like find a new job, make sure your rent is paid. It can't hurt, and you're asking for something very reasonable. So company perks, benefits. You guys want to take a quick photo? Or you're good? Okay, we're good. Okay. So how to get the best offer. I'm going to give you a cheat sheet. It's easy, and then we're going to get into the fun stuff, talking to HR. Can't wait. So be an awesome candidate. You got to make them fall in love. How? Do all the things you've read about in all the interview books. Do it all, make them fall in love. Obviously, you want to sell your special and unique talents, whatever those may be. Reinforce those in your interview time and time again. Show off great manners, thank you notes, thank you emails, whatever you could do, please and thank you. You know, just be courteous. Do your research. Know what that position pays at that company, at other companies. Have a nice range in your head. And now, after you've got a range in head, have a salary in mind. Now, there's two factions on how to move forward, and this is going to have to be up to you. A lot of people think you're going to get your number if you actually have a number. And a lot of people say, have a very specific number. Do your math. What's it cost you to live? Include your health care and all of that and your bills and your cell phone and your travel, and throw in a vacation because you're going to need one at the end of 6 months, right? So what's it cost you to live? Figure that out and then put yourself at the top of the range you've figured it out. And we'll go into that in a second. And then know the benefits that the competition is offering. So for instance, Google has dry cleaning and Facebook does not. Is that important to you? Are you interviewing at both places? Like, these are things to take into consideration. Number one thing that we were just talking about is when they make you an offer, don't be afraid to counter. And for the rest of the presentation, you're just basically going to hear me say that again and again in different ways. They're going to throw out a number. This is a starting gambit. This is a number that is meant to make you say, yay, they like me. But the dance is not over. That's all it is. This is a door opening for a conversation. This is not a that's your number. And again, if the number is too low and it doesn't meet your number, be willing to walk away. Have the faith that you are worthy and that you will find a good offer. Because a lot of the times, they're playing hardball with you. I have talked to so many people who find out later that that HR person, as you'll see, was specifically focused on keeping people's incomes as low as possible. It's annoying, but true. So, how do you find out what you're worth? You research. Research, and then you research some more. So, these companies, I won't go into too much detail, but you should take a photo. Each one of them either lets you know, like Glassdoor will let you know, it's like Yelp for jobs. They'll let you know what the environment's like. They'll let you know what the pay ranges are. Salary.com, great place to find out ranges. PayScale actually compares benefits and salary at different places. Salary List, another great place. It'll literally customize the job and the salary so you can get a better idea. ZipRecruiter, I'm sure you've heard of that one. I'm sure a lot of these companies come through here and actually try and talk to you. Salary Expert, and then last but not least, Indeed. So, I mean, this is one of the biggest job boards. So if you know the kind of position that you're looking for, yeah, everybody should definitely take a photo, because if you are not going to these sites every time you are going for a job, you are leaving probably more than thousands of dollars on the table. You are probably leaving $5,000 and $10,000 on the table, because you need to know what are the real ranges. And the ranges differ from New York to Pennsylvania to Dallas. Where you live is going to affect the range. So be very careful about geographically allocating the range. So once you know your range, decide what your number is. So for instance, for the purpose of this proposal, I came up with 68,540. It's very specific. Why? Because research shows that HR hears a number like that and thinks, Jesus, this kid's really done their homework. I better really be buttoned up. Because remember, you are not the only candidate that they are talking to. They're talking to candidates for different jobs, probably throughout the organization if it's a larger organization. And if it's a small company, they're still going to be like, damn, we've made a really good call. This person is very detail-oriented. They're not going to think you're greedy. They're going to think you're precise, because you've really put some thought into that. Now, 68,000. If I ask for 68,540, am I going to get 68,000? Show of hands. Who thinks I'm going to get it? No one. Right. Why?
They'll think you actually have it, and they'll probably they'll probably give you lower.
I think it comes back to they want a good deal. What was your answer?
Well, I was thinking like normally you would overestimate it on purpose so that you can take it down a notch. So the person on the other side thinks they're getting a deal.
Possible. And I'm going to say again, sorry men, but for women specifically, we underestimate our value consistently. So when women underestimate their value, what do? They don't ask for enough. And when they find out that the men are making 15 to 20 more, they're stuck, because now they have the job and they just took the job, and nobody wants to be, the person that's like, oh, I didn't negotiate. You're gonna have to wait. That's the problem. Did I step on something? Oh, we're good. Okay. So everyone wants a good deal is pretty much what I think it's about. Like, you tell them you want 68, they're like, well, she wants 68, we're gonna get her for 60. But what they don't know is you padded your number 5,000 to 15,000. Like, you can't just pad it a couple of thousand. You really have to look at a range that's still within the right bracket. So you know the job pays between 50 and 70. You've asked for 68. You're a new grad. This is absolutely logical. You graduated the top of your class. You've shown them that you are awesome, right? So you can back up your number. And they're going to come back and probably say, maybe they'll say 65. And in your head, you were ready to take 60. So you just made $5,000 more. But if the number isn't making you uncomfortable, you're probably asking for too little. Like, this is a big one, especially for girls. Like, if the number seems fine and fair, I assure you it's too low. One of the best pieces of advice I got when I used to run my own agency was take the number you think that's fair and double it. And that's the number to go in with. And I used to be like, I can't. But 100% of the time after the clients cut my invoices and cut my invoices and cut my invoices, I was like, I got this, no problem. So, practice and asking for more, you will land somewhere that you will realize is fair. And you're going to be so proud of yourself. So, setting compensation expectations. Before the interview, you need to know what is the salary range that they are paying. Ask them. And if they won't tell you because they're like, well, what's your experience? Say, listen, I need to know your range so that I know we're in the right ballpark. At the end of the day, why are you interviewing if you don't even know what they pay? Like, they're asking you to spend hours of your time preparing, changing your resume, updating your LinkedIn, going somewhere. Like, this is a lot of work. You should know what they pay. It's not crazy. Why before? You're wasting your time otherwise. So hopefully they'll give you a nice range. And if the range works for you, again, do your research. Is it competitive? If they say 35 to 55 and you're like, oh, that sounds good, but then you go on salary.com and it should be 55 to 75, you send HR back a note. Hey, according to my research, this job actually pays 55 to 75 across other companies. Is there room in your budget? And she might write back, oh yeah, I'm so sorry. I sent you the wrong job description. You'll be shocked. HR will do that. So you can even call the other companies. You can actually call their HR department and you can say, I'm shopping around for a job. I'm a new grad. How do I find out what benefits you guys offer? I'm trying to get a good sense of compensation out there. Pretend you're an investigative reporter and someone is hiring you. You're hiring you. You're hiring you to know how to get the best deal. Sometimes it's not that easy, but which is why the other one, like payscale.com, they will show you competitive compensation. So things go well in your interview. I'm not teaching you. Yeah. Yeah.
If you say to ask the question early on about what it's paying,
Mm-hmm.
and what if they come back to you at that early stage and either say, what are you expecting, or what are you getting paid in your
We're
current
getting there.
job? Okay.
We are getting there.
Sorry.
So no, we're almost there. So things go well with your interview, or we're jumping back in time. You have to talk to HR. No one likes talking to HR. That's the actual scary part. That's the part we all think, oh, I don't want to do that. So number one, know your number. Know what you want compensation-wise. So that's more than salary. That's all the benefits. Like you expect 10 days vacation. You expect 4 days sick pay. You know, all that kind of stuff. Have a ballpark idea of what you think is fair. And then now, you have to make it a reality. But how? You are going to have talks with HR. And there you're going to start going back and forth. So when they ask you for your salary requirements, which they might do early on the form, I leave it blank. Personally, I don't see any need to tell them what I expect to make. They will have to ask me because I want them to be uncomfortable too. That's one of my ways forward. Or you can put a range, the one you've researched, because you've already looked at the job description, you've looked at the job title, and you know you're straight out of college, right? So you know your range. Next up, sometimes they try and go a different way. What do you want to make? So you can go with, let's start by discussing the job requirements and expectations so I can get a sense of what you need. So you're really trying to get your job description because the job description tells you how much you make. And it's interesting in time. One of the nice ways of getting out of this conversation on your second or third job is you can always say, well, your job description is very different than the job description I just had, but my skill set is aligned. So I really don't know what the salary is yet, but I'm sure we can develop something fair. So that's sort of along the lines of the third one. But this is a very smart way in, you know, because you're really basically saying, we're going to figure it out together. And in the time that you talk to them and meet with them, you know, you'll have a better sense, but you've got to get a range before you go in. So, you know, this one's also good. Like, I'm looking for an opportunity that will give me the best fit. I'm sure that the competitive package you're offering, you know, is right where it needs to be. And the compensation package is where it needs to be. And I think most HR people, they really want you to be easy. And you're going to struggle with not being easy. But at the end of the day, this is their job. They're actually supposed to give you a range. They're supposed to say, we have a job. It pays between 35 and 55. We'd love to talk to you about it, right? But they're putting you on the defensive because that's actually their job. And it's your job to do your research, be an awesome candidate, know your worth, have a number in your head, and go get it, right? So you're not adversaries, but you're not on the same team, right? So they call you up and they say, hi, Wendy. She's gone, yeah. So hi, girl in the purple shirt. You know, Cindy, congratulations, we're gonna offer you $55,000. Your first reaction is generally to say thank you, right? Oh, thank you, that's great. Do not say thank you. Why don't you say thank you? Anyone?
Because you sort of accepted the 55 and the position.
Right. Thank you is like, yeah, we're done. We're good. Let's do this. So it's a much better response is, that's a great start. Can you send me the details and I'll think it over. So you're literally sitting there, you don't feel good, your stomach's doing flips. Don't stress. Buy yourself some time. Have them send you the email. You can look through it. You can start redoing your research. And then you can say, would you like to talk on the phone or would you prefer I shoot you an email? You never know what they're going to say. And if they email, a lot of people are more comfortable with a salary negotiation via email. So, you can go back to them and say, I've reviewed competitively, we're a little low. I'm looking for 68,540. Like now you can maybe tell them your number because they were in the ballpark. And they can come back and say, oh, that's really way out of our range. Can you do 60? Still within your range because you added 5 to 15, right? Depending. And if you only added 5, maybe you can get them up a little because now you're down 3, right? So again, you point to research when you say my research says the position and job plays X and Y. I expect to be at the top of this range and I was expecting to be at X with compensative packaging, with a competitive comp package. I think at the end of the day, they will respect you a lot because you really know your stuff. And knowing your stuff is everything. So what's the most important thing? Do your homework so you know your request is reasonable. Clearly demonstrate you're worth the cash. Know the company's compensation philosophy. Understand that money isn't everything, right? Know what else you want. So they can't pay you 65. In fact, they can't even pay you 60. They can only pay you 58. Signing bonus, extra vacation days, work from home for 1 day. What can they give you? Free lunch coupon once a week to like Chipotle? Like throw stuff out. Say, listen, you're below where I want to be, but I really want to work with you. And I can see that we will be great together. Remember, they're thinking, how can this person help us? And you're thinking, how do I get a great job where I'm actually happy and productive and being well paid, right? So you will find a place, right? In the end, trying is really what's critical. 90%, it's like 74% of women don't negotiate at all their first job out of college. 74%. And 56% of guys don't. So 50-50 almost. So if you don't try, you're making that worse, those stats. And if you do try, here's the one thing that I do know. I spent a year interviewing HR experts. No one has ever rescinded an offer because someone asked for more. No one. The only person who ever rescinded an offer, she said, turned out the candidate was an asshole. I would have rescinded that guy's offer too, or girl. I don't know if it was a boy or a girl. So you got to remind yourself, and I'm going to give you some support, on how to like bolster your confidence. But when you don't negotiate over the course of your whole career, you could lose out on $500,000. That sucks. And for women, it's up to $1 million. Why? Because you missed out on that extra 10, then you miss out on an extra 20, and then you miss out on an extra 40, and it's cumulative, right? For all those jobs, for all those years. At the end of 40 years, imagine missing out on between $500,000 and $1 million because you never said, that's a little low. Can we talk about something greater? Or can we talk about something closer to the range that I know is correct? Like use the data, constantly refer to the data, and then you won't feel so much like you're being greedy. The data points are valid, right? So this one's really interesting. So I interviewed a lot of people, and I have 2 quotes that I want to share. I went through 7 rounds of interviews, 7. They told me that the job paid $82,000, that they were excited and happy to have me join the team. I was really happy. To be honest, negotiating didn't even occur to me until I found out 6 months later that most of my colleagues made more than I did. Yeah. Do you think Hero is particularly proud of himself now? No, not so much. This one was really appalling. At my old company, the HR manager made me feel like the offer would be rescinded if I negotiated my salary. I later found out that he was hired for specifically this reason. He was great at offering too little money. He was saving that company buttloads, which is great for the company, but it sucks for the employees like you. So I wish I had negotiated my salary. I feel like my worth is lower now for any future compensation packages, right? And like my advice to Julia was like, good news, you can research, and in New York State, it is illegal for them to ask you how much you made. They cannot ask you, what did you make at your last job as of last year? So that's awesome. Like if anybody says, well, what were you making? You just smile. Don't even bother answering, just smile. Or you can say, I'd rather not say. You don't have to. So be bold, have confidence, you can do this. Now, one thing that I like to give people that I have found really helps is a mantra. It's very uncomfortable going into negotiating situations. So what happens if you repeat it over and over? I'm valuable, I'm deserving, I negotiate for myself. Like mantra this to yourself. I know it sounds a little weird, but mantras are very calming, and they remind you how valuable you are. And if you don't remind yourself, no one else will. All right, thank you so much. Have an awesome day. Enjoy the sun.